Hello, I'm Charles Heimlich, and this is Real Talk. Are you a film lover and love the art of filmmaking? Then join me every Friday from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on Real Talk, as we talk all things film with writers, directors, producers, actors, film critics, right here on DMTV. Please follow us on social media and like us and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Ducor Media, and never, ever miss an episode of Real Talk. Hello, welcome to Real Talk, where we keep it real. I'm your host, Charles Heimlich, and just wanted to say that happy Easter to everyone. This is Easter time, so happy Easter and happy Passover for those of you that don't celebrate Easter. I wanted to mention that just the other day, I just saw this kid standing on the corner eating a big giant chocolate Easter bunny. And so I went over and I said, hey man, you know, eating all that chocolate, that's bad for you. You know that, right? He says, well, my grandpa lived to be 103. I said, really? Did he eat a lot of chocolate? He said, no, he minded his own damn business. I was kids today. So anyway, tonight we have a special guest, Ariel Scholl. Ariel, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about Ariel and where you're from.
I am from Maryland originally, and then I was down in Georgia for 4 years. I got my college degree and my master's down there, and then I moved up here to Philly for law school, and I've been here for about a year and a half, and I'm not planning to leave anytime soon. I like it here.
So nice. That's great. So tell us about the college or your master's.
Yeah, so I got down to college, and I knew I wanted to go to law school after that. The master's was not in the original plan, but I figured out that I could finish college a year early. And with law school, it's so competitive, it's so hard to get into, and if you want scholarship money, that's even more competitive. So I figured I could do something with that year rather than just try to apply to law school right out of college. Okay. And I looked into it, and then I kind of bullied my way through the school into creating like this way that I could get a master's program in a year, so that it was supposed to be a year and a half or a 2-year program. So I just kind of rushed through all of it. I shoved it all together, and I was able to get those 2 degrees in the same 4 years that I had thought I was going to be down there. So
wow, that's awesome. And that's in what?
So my master's degree is in social work and nonprofit management. Wow,
nice. Social work. That's great. That really hits home with a lot of things. Are you looking to do, and you are doing stuff with that, right?
Yes. So I knew I wanted to do, with my law degree, I wanted to do public interest work and help out nonprofits, help out, the people that nonprofits serve. But I also actually started my own nonprofit just about a year ago now, and we just got through all of the really obnoxious paperwork and filings, which there's a lot of it. Yeah. Folks out there would be shocked at how much money it costs and how much work you have to put in to start a charitable organization. It's not easy to do, but we just got all of it. So we have our tax exempt status, and we are ready to get up and rolling now.
Oh, cool. Now, what are you going to do with it?
So it's aimed to kind of close the resource gap for people who don't have homes living in Philadelphia. I think everyone in the city knows that that's a really big problem around here, and in a lot of cities, which is actually part of it. I think that this is a portable model that could go to other cities at some point. Okay. But what we're trying to do is kind of connect people to the resources that they need to get the emergency services. So I think we realized, I say we, that's something we learned in my master's program, that you always refer to nonprofits as a we, but it doesn't make sense to anyone else. Something I realized was that we think a lot about people needing shelter and food and medical services, which is great and super important, but there are enough beds in Philadelphia for every single person out there who doesn't have a home at night. And for some reason, they're not getting utilized, clearly, because you see people on the streets.
Sure, why is that though?
So what I kind of realized is that we don't have good transportation and we don't have access to the addresses and phone lines. So something that people weren't really considering is that if we need somewhere to go, we need a hotel for the night, we could pull out our smartphone and Google it and say, where's the closest hotel? And then we can get an Uber and we can be there in 10 minutes. That's not something that people on the streets can do. They might have had phones at one point. They don't have access to reliable charging. It was something that was really overlooked when payphones went out of fashion, and now they're all gone and people can't call directories anymore. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to partner with businesses and community centers around the city that are going to let us set up emergency service stands there. And we're going to put in landlines, which I know throwback, but we're going to have landlines and preloaded SEPTA cards so that people can access transportation. And then this really comprehensive book of resources that has addresses and phone numbers for pretty much every service around the city that people could utilize. So we have medical centers, we have crisis lines, and shelter and food banks.
Now, how does the police fit in this? Do they help? Don't they do?
They have not been helpful to it. So
really,
there's actually a lot of
supposed to help.
Right, we would think so. There's actually a lot of laws out there that target homeless people instead of helping it. So there's like a vagrancy laws. You can get arrested and get a criminal record for just being in the wrong place. Yeah. Which, if you want to get into all the law stuff with it,
I understand
once you have the arrest, it's way harder to get out of homelessness. Because once you have a criminal record, it's very hard to get subsidized housing.
Yeah, that's a shame that they would do something like that too.
Yeah, so it's really problematic, and honestly, that's kind of the whole picture comes together for me with my career with that I want to work in reforming these things, and then it can all kind of tie together, and hopefully we can make a big difference in the city.
That's great. Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so you got that, and you're working on that project, and that's going to be starting. You just got this paperwork done. So,
yes.
So you guys are going to be starting within the next couple months.
Yep, we are. Okay. We have a few businesses that we've connected with that are talking about being our partners. So we're narrowing it down to find out what our pilot location is going to be that we're going to set everything up. So that's the next step.
Well, when you're ready to go to Jersey, let me know. We're in Jersey. So.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. I had someone reach out to me from California recently talking about wanting to maybe put the model out there. So I'm excited. That's what I really want. I want this to be something that people can use everywhere.
Yeah, you're unique. That's great. So then you go to law school, and you are currently in what, Temple?
Yeah, Temple Law School.
Yeah, so tell us about that.
In my second year.
Second year?
Yeah.
How'd you get involved in, what made you go there?
They really have a huge program around public interest, so that was part of it. Also, I got a lot of scholarship money, which was a prerequisite. I needed to go somewhere with it, and it kind of all came together. I've always liked Philadelphia, and it has really good access to a lot of different markets without actually having to pay the price of living in New York City or DC, which is just crazy. So there is that, and I also really looked for, because I got the master's degree before I came here, I knew that I loved that kind of program. What masters do is tend to put you more in practical scenarios rather than just pure lectures and test scenarios.
Okay.
And law school is a lot of that. It's a lot of lectures and a lot of exams. But Temple has a lot of programs that let you get credit for actually working out in the community. And that was something I was really looking for, because I definitely learned through experience, and I just enjoy it more.
Oh, wow. Nice. Okay. So then when in Temple, you're in your second year, so what do you have to look forward to?
Oh gosh, I've got one more year, and then the bar exam, which nationally has a 50-50 pass-fail rate, so that's
really?
Terrifying.
Wow.
Not from the school. Temple does better than that, but still.
Yeah.
So that's super fun. I'll take that in July after I graduate. So I have a year and a couple of months, and then hopefully I'll be a licensed attorney. So.
Okay. And what are you looking to do with your law degree?
Public interest law. Yep. I've been working with a number of community legal service organizations in the area, and I want to keep doing that kind of work. And then hopefully I can kind of get this nonprofit running, network up and running, and kind of make it a bigger deal. So those will be my two things, and I want to pull them together really badly.
Well, they go hand in hand, so that's actually excellent. That's really good that you have that. And then will you take the law further than that down the road? Will you specialize in anything in particular?
I'm considering it. I haven't decided. I guess I haven't mapped out the entire plan with it. I think that what you can do to specialize is get something called an LLM, which is a Master of Law, which is a master's degree that you can only get once you have a law degree. So that would be like how you specialize. And it's not required for any of these things, but you know, I think I need a break from school. This is my third degree, so I'll probably take a couple years, work, and then see if I feel like I need that specialization before I go into it. And also some companies will pay for you to go back and get the master's if they feel like that would benefit you. So I might not have to pay for the last degree if I work for the right place, so we'll see.
Now, will you actually work for a law firm or will you work for yourself?
I'll probably work for, I guess, the kind of firms. I think they'd usually be incorporated as nonprofits. They're like community legal aid organizations.
Corporation type?
Yeah. They're serving, you know, they get subsidies and they get grants and things to do that. It's usually to serve clientele that can't pay like the exorbitant normal court and attorney fees. Okay. Hiring a lawyer is expensive.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's why I got to be friends with you now. But you're not doing criminal law, so, you know.
Well, I probably will do some. I'm interested in public defense. There's like a whole crisis going on around public defense right now. It's just like super understaffed. And, you know, a lot of things are starting to, there's a big push to decriminalize certain things. And it's a really interesting movement that I am trying to be very involved in. So I probably will do a stint in public defense. Okay. I think it's just kind of like obligatory, like people need to be doing it. So do my part.
There you go. Is it actually open now with the COVID thing going on?
Oh my God, it's been going back and forth like crazy.
Yeah,
so yeah, I think the court system is open now. I've been interning or working recently with like the child welfare unit, and juvenile court's been open because you need to have custody hearings and things like that. But that was like one of the first to open because we just can't not have kids with places to stay. So
were they doing that on Zoom or?
They did it on Zoom very briefly, and then they brought that one back into person. Okay. But the other like civil court cases and things like that have been on Zoom for like 2 years now. I mean, very high priority cases are maybe getting into court, but
right.
My whole first year of law school was on Zoom.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. Yeah. All through Temple, right? So you were at home?
I was at home. I moved here to Philly and then I immediately went online, and I was like, oh, okay, well.
That's cool. And then so when you do get your law degree and you get started with your master's, you also specialize in social media, correct?
So yeah, during my master's degree, we were kind of like trained in it actually because it was a nonprofit management course. We learned a good deal about it. It's just so important for like fundraising and for getting messaging out about nonprofits. So it wasn't like a specific degree or specialization in that, but it was something that was like really brought up, I guess, throughout it, and we were trained in how to use that as a tool for charitable organizations. And then I did a bunch of work using it. I worked for a number of like newer organizations, not as new as mine. This is the first one I've started from scratch. Okay. And I was all down when I was in Georgia. I was working for different charities doing that, and I ran a bunch of social media pages, and it's a really powerful tool.
Oh, okay. And you started that. So you started that in Georgia, actually.
Yep. Wow. I started. I guess it was my training for like starting my own organization. I was working with all these other ones, and also I just love doing it. I love the causes, and I only work with organizations that I like really believe in and really believe in the causes. So
when you were younger, you actually did. What made you go that route? What inspired you?
Well, shout out to my parents. They both work in nonprofits.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, my dad works for a big foundation that helps provide like healthcare to people, and my mom is the city of Baltimore shelter's head veterinarian.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is actually a nonprofit organization. It's not run through the city, which is interesting. They like separated for funding reasons. It's all complicated, but they still have to accept every single animal that comes in. They have a contract with the city. So she loves what she does, but works very hard and is very busy. And I definitely learned those kinds of values and devotion from them. So.
Oh my God, yeah. So, and that's in Baltimore, you said?
Yep, Baltimore City.
So she's in Baltimore?
Yeah, they live in Baltimore County now. I grew up in the surbs in Maryland. So it's called Clarksville. Nobody really knows what that is, but
that's great. And I guess she really enjoys what she does then too.
She does. She loves it. And I loved it because I got to grow up around a lot of animals, and I have a dog and a cat now, and they're very important to me. So.
And you get free care.
I mean, I didn't get that when I was in Georgia, and I missed it. So I'm not complaining being back up near her.
That's great. All right, so that's awesome. So we're going to be right back with Ariel in 1 minute. So we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Real Talk, where we keep it real. We're here with Ariel, and she's going to be talking a little bit more about your nonprofit.
Yeah, so I would say, and I'll do a little shameless pitch here, that we're currently looking for more community partners for what I'm doing. I have grant funding, so you don't have to pay anything if you want to be involved in it. We just need places to put our emergency service stands. So that's my little shameless pitch out to the Philadelphia community right now, that literally if you have a store, you work at a store, a company, a community center, and you wouldn't mind just having the stand there.
Absolutely. Help her out.
Reach out to us.
Philadelphia, let's go.
It's been a little hard. A lot of people have wanted to be involved and have been really great. But it's also been a little disappointing. A lot of people definitely stigmatize homelessness a lot and are just we don't want homeless people coming up to our storefront. And I'm like, oh, okay, but we're trying to solve the problem, not just ignore it. So,
right.
If you're out there and you want to be involved, let me know. We can also always use volunteers. So.
Now, how can they reach you? Tell them how to reach out to you.
Yeah, social media is great. So you can reach out to my private pages, but also you could go to A Friend in Need PA on Instagram or on Facebook, and that's the organization pages. And since the organization is tiny and brand new, you're just going to get me anyway. So follow us on those, check it out, and then contact me if you want to be involved.
Okay, and we'll put that out there as well.
That would be great. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. So tell us a little bit more. What's happening with that?
Yeah, so I love to kind of talk about the whole process around starting a nonprofit, because I think that people kind of think that you just kind of jump into it. You're like, oh, I have a great idea, and people are going to want to be involved in charity.
Right.
Yeah. It's so complicated to get going. So you have to do all of these insane steps to get it up and running. And I'm really glad that I ended up getting that master's degree, because I don't think I could have done it without that. And also, I actually had a professor at Temple who let me earn class credit for working on this first semester, and she helped me and was a mentor towards me. So she was amazing, and so that was really great. But you have to get an employer identification number, even if you don't have employees, you need that. It's the social security number of your organization.
Right.
And then you have to make a board. In PA, you have to have a minimum of 3 people on the board. So it's usually just friends and family starting out, and that's what mine is. It's my boyfriend and my dad. They're helping me out. And then you have to make bylaws, which are basically the governing body's rules for the organization. And those have a million legal standards involved in them, because there's especially conflict of interest policy in order to keep a tax exempt status once you do get it. So we worked on that for quite a while. And then we filed articles of incorporation. You have to become a corporation in the state before you can become a nonprofit corporation. So we were just a corporation for a while. And then we went and we did the 1023 form.
I'm sorry, but is that an S Corp, or what do you got to get? What kind of corporation has it got to be?
Yeah, just corporate status. It's just
doesn't matter.
Standard, standard corporate status. Because
so
then you're
LLC will work too?
Yeah, it will work. But usually you'll check when you're doing their corporation boxes that you plan on becoming a nonprofit, and then they don't really ask you to specify more than that, because they know that that's what you're planning to do with it. So we do that, and once we got the corporate status, then we could file what's called a 1023, which is with the IRS to get that tax exempt status. Luckily, there's a shortened form for small organizations. It's called the 1023 EZ, the 2 letters, EZ. Right. I know, a little on the nose, but we were able to do that, and then all of these have crazy waiting periods behind them as well, of course. Also, I only got the notice of my tax exempt status by hard copy in the mail, which, I don't know, my generation, that's weird to us. I filed online, and then I got an envelope in the mail. I only check my mail once every 3 weeks, but okay. So that was a little funny, but we're finally there. So we're done with the bureaucratic part. And I think that was a little frustrating to me, because this is a passion project for me. So filing a bunch of paperwork was not what I wanted to do at that time. I was like, yep, let's jump in, let's do things. And then I was like, okay, well, here's 500 papers in front of me. But it's all right. I guess I have to get used to that, because that's what being a lawyer is in large part. So
Absolutely.
It's been good. But I really credit a lot of it to that time when I was getting my master's program and my time in Georgia. I got to work with a number of really great organizations down there. I worked with one that had just gotten off the ground, that was working on environmental issues. I worked with a legal aid organization there. And then I worked with this very cool and very specific organization that I was very involved in. That was actually a horse rescue that helped sexual assault survivors with equine therapy, and then also kind of talked to them about their choices through the criminal justice system.
Okay, that's interesting.
So I actually ride horses. I have since I was a little kid. So I got involved in that. because I was like, criminal justice and like animals, this is really me. This is like weirdly specific to me. So I was involved with them for a long time, and I actually started their social media pages, ran their social media pages, and I think that it gave me a ton of experience. Their founder and executive gave me a lot of leeway to just kind of do my own thing with it, which I appreciate the trust. I don't know, I probably wasn't qualified. I was like 20, but like, it's fine. I appreciate the trust, and now I'm definitely more prepared to be doing all of this. So.
I love that. That's great. And so tell me more about how you got involved in that again, and where you were going with that.
Yeah, so when I was down there, honestly, I was bored. I was like looking at this whole span of years of school ahead of me. I knew I wanted to do law school. I knew that I couldn't just rush through my undergrad and try to jump into it because like I just wasn't going to get in and get a good scholarship. So I was like, all right, I have all these years and I really knew what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do public interest work. I know I want to work in like policy and reform and change. And so I was just kind of sitting there like, this is like really not very fulfilling for me to just be sitting in classes hearing about all of the problems out in the world when I want to be doing something about it. So I just went on a search. I just looked for organizations that I felt like embodied what I wanted to do.
Okay.
And I was lucky enough to find some. And I don't think I necessarily even expected to find ones that were that in line with what I wanted to do. Georgia's a very different world than what I grew up in and a different culture. And but it was great. And my time there was really invaluable to me. And I'm very grateful for everyone down there that let me kind of create this very weird, unique path that led me here. So,
oh, nice. Okay.
It was really special.
And then when you came here, you put all that to work.
Yeah, so we talked about it constantly in my master's degree, something called closing the resource gap, and like that's the thing that like spans genius nonprofit ideas that change the world. Like closing the resource gap, you see a resource gap and then you figure out how to get rid of it. So that was like that phrase was just ringing in my head when I started seeing the homelessness issues here. It was December and I had just come up from Georgia when I got this idea. It was last December. I had only been here for a few months and I was like, oh my God, this winter is super cold. I've been in the South for the last 4 years. And I was seeing all the people out on the streets and it was making me really sad. And I was thinking, what can I do? What can I do? I never carry cash on me because I just don't. Nobody carries cash anymore.
That's true, right?
So I started carrying around bags that had like immediate supplies in them, like food and hand warmers, foot warmers, that kind of thing.
Right.
And it was still kind of frustrating to me because I just am an idealist and I was like, this will help someone for 30 seconds and one day, and then tomorrow they're going to be cold and hungry again. And so then I was like, okay, what do they actually need? They need to get somewhere that's sustainable, that can actually keep them warm until they get back on their feet, or can actually feed them until they get back on their feet, or can actually help them if they're in a medical crisis. So I actually started writing up, it all came in stages. I started writing up lists of resources around the city. And that was kind of when it came to me that like, how would I actually get to these places? Okay, I would call a taxi, I would call an Uber. These people can't do that. Right. So I really credit that phraseology, closing the gap, with this whole kind of creation of this organization. Because to me, that definitely was what it was. And it was a progression of like starting something and then seeing that if I put myself into someone else's shoes, that's not enough actually.
Right. Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. I seen that out there. I did security work for the Philadelphia Convention Center, and I noticed that as well when I was there. All the homeless people all over the place, underneath the building, just everywhere. Cops walking by, people walking by, and it just was, to me, it struck me. I was like, wow. Wow. Like, and it's middle winter, like you said, it was middle winter, it's freezing cold, and they're just sitting out there, it's like, wow.
Kids, and you see,
families.
People who have, families and people who clearly have like health issues, and probably that led into part of why they're homeless now, right?
Right.
And you just, I don't want to just be the person who walks past that and ignores it. And I understand that like you can't stop and help everyone on a daily basis. I'm not at all criticizing anyone for that, but
No, I understand.
I felt like I had the expertise to do something about it, and I wanted to. And I'm glad that I'm trying. It's still an uphill climb a little bit, but
there you go. But you're doing it, and that's what counts.
Working on it.
You're doing it, yes, and that's great. And you should be applauded for that.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
I will say that I got a lot of your crazies because you're not even allowed to work your first year of law school. Like you sign a clause saying that like you can't take a job because they're so worried that you're not going to pass it.
Okay.
And then here I am starting an organization, which I'm not getting paid for it, so I'm not working, but I'm putting my own money into it.
See that law degree's coming in handy already?
Yeah, I'm like, nope, I'm not breaking it, but here I am. I drink a lot of coffee and I don't sleep a lot, so that's okay. I like to be busy.
That's great. Busy's good. Busy's good. I actually specialize in women's self-defense, and so that's a big part of what I teach in my school, and so that's kind of where I'm interested in getting a nonprofit and helping with battered women and things like that. So yeah, that's always been a pet peeve for me, to make sure women know how to protect themselves. There's so many that don't, and there's a lot of women out there that don't even care to, but they need to understand. They need to be educated.
Well, and you have to know how much these issues really end up tying into each other, because a lot of women who come from abusive environments have to leave, don't end up having housing. And
Right. And a lot of them don't want a man to teach them either. So, that's the other part of that. They want a woman teaching them. They don't really want a guy.
And it's also hard if you've been in a traumatic situation. You need kind of specialized, you need to take specialized steps to kind of recover from that. So
absolutely.
But I think that's a great idea, and I absolutely love that, especially in a city, and I carry pepper spray with me, things like that, things I never really...
I have to talk to you about that. But we'll be right back after these messages with Ariel. Welcome back to Real Talk with Ariel. Ariel, sorry.
It's the mermaid thing, everyone says it.
The mermaid, yeah, Do you believe in mermaids?
I do not believe in mermaids, but I do like the Disney movies, so.
Okay, but you got the name. So anyway, so let's finish up with the nonprofit.
Yes.
And so tell us a little bit more and your goals with that.
Yeah, so I kind of hinted at it. My dream is that this is a really easily transportable and sustainable model, that every city that has public transport could have something like this in place.
Yeah,
so nice. And also, I think my vision is I really want to have emergency stands in every neighborhood of the city, because I want someone, if they're in a bad situation and they're desperate and they're scared, to be able to look up and see our little logo, which my good friend designed for us, because she's a really talented artist. I have no artistic skill, but she made a little logo for us. And I want them to be able to look up and see that and think, okay, this is a place that I can go to get help and feel safe. So that's really my vision with it, is that no matter where you are in the city, there's going to be an emergency services stand there, and you can get to where you need to be.
So they'll know by the logo that it's a safe place?
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so we'll have informational packets, and then hopefully the word will get out there and people will know about it. And,
cool.
And then hopefully it'll spread. So that's why it was my little aspirational thing to I named the organization A Friend in Need Philadelphia, and that's my aspirational tag on it, because then it could be in other cities and have the other city's name at the end of it. So.
That's smart. Brilliant. I love it. And not only is Ariel amazing with doing all that, and she really needs to be applauded for all that work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work. And it's just sometimes it's frustrating because there's such a need for it. But she's also a model and an actress. So let's talk about your modeling. So tell us a little bit about, how did you get involved in modeling?
Yeah, so it's really all very new to me. I started modeling and acting a year ago.
Oh, wow.
And I'd been told for a while, that maybe I should do it. I like fashion. I'm interested in it. I'm also tall, so I'm 5'9".
That helps.
So that's always part of it. But
right.
Of course, I do believe that anyone should be able to be involved in the industry. So the height thing is just kind of a cliche, but it was part of why I was probably told that for a while.
It is.
And so I liked it, and I kind of put it off for a while, in part because I was worried that I wouldn't be taken that seriously in the legal profession if I did something in entertainment and in fashion, which is probably kind of the case. I think I've already heard a little bit of questioning from my law school peers, some of them, and things like that.
That's jealousy. Don't worry. Don't listen to them.
It doesn't bother. I'm a very confident person. I'm very happy with myself.
Good.
And at some point, I kind of came to the realization that I can take myself seriously. I know what I'm doing. I can pick the jobs that I'm comfortable with, and that's going to be what it is. Also, just looking today at what modeling and acting has done for people's platforms with the creation of social media. If I want to get out these messages about nonprofits and things like that and charity work, there's no easier way to get into a large audience than to have these kinds of platforms.
Yeah,
So,
smart.
Yeah.
So it's fashion modeling that you do.
Yeah, that was where I started out, and then I'm also doing a little commercial modeling, but I definitely started in fashion. I have a couple of agencies that I signed on with that kind of advised me in it when I got on. I had a talk with my first agent, and he was like, "Are you interested in acting as well?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't have any training, but I love film. I love theater. I've always loved theater, and I love that, and I've always been interested in it." But I was like, "Yeah, I mean, if there's opportunities for me to learn and get into this, then I am interested in it." But I started out in fashion. I had the opportunity to do New York Fashion Week like a month after I started modeling, which was a super cool experience. Out on that Manhattan rooftop, just somewhere I never thought I would be. I've been an academic. I spent most of my time reading gigantic law textbooks, but here I am, some couture gown, and on a rooftop in Manhattan with all these flash bulbs. So I mean, it's just a cool experience, and I've gotten to do these types of things. But I do like commercial acting too. I got to do a commercial for a restaurant in Wilmington earlier this week, a couple of days ago, and it was just so much fun. I will say that part of why it was so much fun was because they gave us like cocktails and food on set because we were like eating it, and then they also let us just actually eat it. And
well, sets have a lot of food. They always have that. So.
It's like a brunch restaurant, and it had like this sweet cream French toast, and I have a crazy sweet tooth, and I was like, oh my God, like I'm trying to pace myself so that you can do new takes, but this is so good.
So what was the commercial about?
So it was actually like 2 parts. So it's going to be partially like a tourism commercial for the whole area. And then also they're doing like specialized sections that are just for this restaurant. So I don't know exactly how their contract worked and how that all played out. But so we were highlighting the restaurant, and it was super fun. I got to play a part from a woman that we had never met before, but we were just supposed to be friends having brunch, and so we just sat there and talked about everything while we drank our cocktails for a few hours, and I was like, oh, this is work, I love it, all right.
And it's local, right? It's in Philly?
It was in Wilmington, but it's
Wilmington.
like 30 minutes away.
Still local.
Pretty much local, I saw it through like I met it through Philly casting connections, it's Philly local. I consider it Philly local.
Right. Do you have an agent then? Or?
I do have 2 agencies that I'm signed with. They're actually neither of them are based out of Philly, so I might try to find a more local one at some point, because now it's a little bit of a global reach, but.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you allowed to say their names or no?
Yeah, I'm sure. One is Northwest Model Management, and then one's called America's Most Wanted Models, and one's on the West Coast, and one's actually based in the Midwest. So it's just people I connected with when I started out in it, and I'm still definitely narrowing down exactly who I want to work with and kind of what I want to specialize all of it in, but keeping my options open, and like I said, it's all very early stages for me. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, I understand that. Yeah.
They've been good. I mean, honestly, it's been more of an advising role than anything else. I'm pretty good at self-promotion. If I want to work on a project or I want to do something, I'm very comfortable reaching out and just putting myself out there. So having agents to me has just been someone to bounce things off of, like, what do I need for my comp card? Like, what kind of digitals do I need to get? That kind of stuff. Like, I just need someone to tell me what the industry is like.
Okay. So do you have IMDb? Do you have all that kind of stuff?
I don't have an IMDb yet. I have 2 acting projects, and they're both in pre-production. And so
you can still put them up.
Oh, can we?
Yeah,
I'll tell them.
Absolutely.
You have to get on it because I want that page.
Get on that. Yeah, absolutely. Put your name on there and get it going. My son is actually good at doing that. So
really? Okay.
Yeah,
see, my brother is he works in computer engineering. He makes video games, so he probably should be able to do all this stuff. But
so yeah, there you go. And tell us more about your acting career then.
Yeah, so I think this was all kind of like what I was saying about self-promotion, just putting myself out there and connecting to people. I reached out to a director who was creating this project called 3 Slices of Delirium, which is like 3 horror shorts that are going to be like kind of woven together. And he was casting for a role, the lead role in one part of it. So it's like 2 Edgar Allan Poe based stories, and then one is like an Eastern European folktale. And so he was casting for a lead female for the Eastern European part, for the role of Katrina, who's like this girl who has this run-in with this evil witch when she's trying to get this herb to save her father's life. It's like this whole kind of dramatic period piece, historic role. And I was like, this just seems like so much fun. I've always loved historical dramas. I love period pieces. And also I want to play some kind of empowering female role. That was what I was drawn to. So that was kind of my first foray into it. And I reached out to him and I was like, I want to audition for this role. I'm really interested in it. I have absolutely no experience at this point, but I talk a lot. I'm in law school. Talking to people doesn't make me nervous. I've asked people for money for nonprofits. And once you've done that, everything else is better received. So I got on a Zoom call with him and we ran through some of it, and he was like, I'm really, really interested. We're going to pull the castings together, and then you can come out and we'll do green screen tests and all of that.
Okay.
And that it all took a while to pull together, and then I went out and did that. And I thought that there were going to be a lot of people in the running for the role, but when I got out there, I ran my lines with the first person that was going to possibly play the witch, the counterpart there, and we ran through that. And she left, and he was like, yeah, so I want you to know that you did great, but I really brought you in so that we could see how you worked off of these other actresses. But I knew when we did the Zoom call that I wanted you for this role. And so they actually didn't have anyone else in for the running at that point, which was really nice. So I'm very excited about that project. It's definitely something I'm passionate about. And then also, I'll be working on a TV show that's also in pre-production right now. It's called Brad's Sad Life, and it's kind of like this cool, it's like a kind of almost a sitcom funny show, but also the guy is like...
I've seen that somewhere.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of promotion for it right now.
Okay.
And it's based out of Baltimore, so I get to go back to my home turf. I'll stay with my parents a little bit while we're taping, which I'm sure they'll be super happy about.
Okay.
But it's like kind of a sitcom guy about this like just normal guy, but he kind of like becomes a Grim Reaper. So it's it's a fun role, and I like that plot line. I'm obviously very nerdy. I am in law school and I have a bunch of degrees, so I love mythology, and it kind of ties in a lot of like tales of the afterlife and things like that. So like a comedy show, so I think that'll be super fun.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So you booked both of them already then?
Yeah, I booked both of them already.
Nice, good.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
welcome.
I'm really excited to get started, and I think we'll be doing a lot of filming over the summer, which is great that the timeline kind of worked out that I'll be done with finals by then. So
There you go. So,
that'll be really fun.
and more commercials in line too?
Yeah, things are so, this is not something I expected about the industry. I guess when I came into it, I thought that it was just gonna be like, I come from law, right? So like everything's like super planned out, like meetings are organized so far in advance. And now here everyone's just like, oh, casting for tomorrow, you wanna come out? And I'm like, oh, okay, let me see.
I know, that's crazy, right?
It's been really crazy. Even New York Fashion Week, which is supposed to be like the prime like modeling runway shows, right? We were out there and everyone's like scrambling and they're like, oh, do you wanna walk for the show too? Because we actually had like 3 models drop out last minute. I was like, what are you talking about? Like,
Right.
sorry, I'm working with a designer already. They didn't have enough makeup artists to go around. I'm like, this is really chaotic, but I think it's good for me. It's teaching me to go with the flow a little bit, which I'm not very good at. So yeah, so I have a few things coming up, and then I also have a few other auditions in the works for different shows and movies that I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about since I'm not casting them and I don't have any approval from their directors yet, but I'll have stuff coming up.
Well, it was a pleasure talking to you. It's a pleasure having you on the show. Ariel Scholl, everybody. Let's give her a great big hand. And thank you for being on the show. We really appreciate having you here. And so again, another great show, Real Talk with Charles Heimlich, where we keep it real.